Well, there has indeed been a lot of discussion about the economic viability of coal projects here and around the world. For more, we're joined from Canberra by Richard Dennis, the Australia Institute's chief economist. Richard, thanks for joining us on the program.
Good evening.
We've just been listening to the Queensland opposition leader, Deb Frecklington, describe Adani as a project that's been thrown from pillar to post. The company deserves a fair go. Do you accept that for all the country Adani has been through up till now, that it's just time to make a call and move ahead, particularly in considering the election result?
Well, the opposition leader in Queensland doesn't even agree with herself. She started the interview by saying, we just need to approve this, we just need to approve this, we just need to start. And her answer to your last question was, we need really rigorous planning systems in place to ensure that agriculture is protected, to ensure we get the balance right, and to ensure that at the end of the mine, they fill in the hole and they take good care of the environment. So she starts the interview saying, let's just start putting shovels in the ground. And at the end, she says, we must protect agriculture. We must protect agriculture. And thank goodness we have such stringent environmental systems in place. I mean, it's like everything about the Adani coal mine. It's like wrestling with smoke. Some people just want to build it. It doesn't matter what facts you point out to them.
You are among those who've been prosecuting the case that Adani's Carmichael mine doesn't make economic sense. In light of the weekend election result, do you accept that the economics of this is really only a part of the argument, perhaps a very small part of the argument for those who are living in that community?
Absolutely, but let's be clear, it doesn't make economic sense. It doesn't make economic sense, and Adani says it doesn't make economic sense because they said they won't build the mine unless we give them free coal, free water, a free railway line, and it doesn't make economic sense. Now, of course, Australia is one of the richest countries in the world, and if we want to give billions of dollars worth of subsidies to a coal mine, you bet we can get it up and running. But the question is, of all the ways to create jobs in regional Queensland, has anyone ever shown that the best way to create jobs in regional Queensland is for the rest of Australia to give billions of dollars to a particular mine proponent?
So why wasn't that message persuasive enough to so many voters, particularly in Queensland?
You'd have to ask the Queenslanders. They make it quite clear they don't like to listen to us from down in the south, but of course they want us down in the south to fund the mine for them. So, look, I don't know, who can say, but let's be crystal clear, the proponents of Adani are adamant that their mine is not economically viable. And you just heard the opposition leader say, if Adani had to pay for the coal that we're about to give them, if they had to pay for it, then the project wouldn't go ahead. Well, you know, I'd be very good at running a farm if you gave me free land and free water. I'd be very good at running a shop if you gave me free rent and free labour. Apparently Adani's very good at running a mine when we give them free coal and free water and free transport infrastructure.
So Deb Frecklington said a moment ago that mining companies are looking to do business in states that will look after them. What do mining companies do that? Shop around for the best deal?
I don't think they're going to be mining much coal in Canberra regardless of what we offer them, and I don't think they'll be mining much coal in Tasmania either. Look, the mining industry makes its investment decisions based on the availability of the resource, the cost of extracting it and the price they can sell it for. Now, if a state government's willing to give them, and I keep repeating myself, but let's be clear, free coal, free water and free infrastructure, yeah, that is an attractive, it's an attractive thing for the mining industry. But the question for taxpayers is it worth all of that for 1,500 jobs? Now, let's be clear, there's 160,000 unemployed people in Queensland today. 160,000 unemployed people. We would have to build 100 Adani mines to solve unemployment in Queensland. So let's get this one out of the way. Are we going to build another 99? What is, apart from subsidising a coal mine at a time where the rest of the world wants to buy less coal, what are we going to do for the equivalent of 99 more Adani projects? Who's going to create those jobs?
We've seen news today that a $6.7 billion coal mine project owned by China Stone has been put on ice for now. The company's abandoned its bid for a mining lease. How much of that can be reasonably taken as an indicator of the viability of coal operations in Australia?
Well, Well, it's obviously it's clear proof that when investors are asked to put money, their own hand in their own pocket, and decide whether to build new coal mines at a time where the world is buying less coal, it's clear proof that those investors think that's a bad idea. But any project is viable with enough subsidies. We could have kept the Kodak camera film business running with enough subsidies. It's just up to us as taxpayers.
Can I ask you this though? Is it not more about a movement in China about how to deal with coal? I mean, in China, the Communist Party and the SDIC, which is one of the largest state-owned investment companies, has recently said it will no longer invest in coal-fired thermal power plants. However, Adani, it's an Indian company. They don't have the same motivations.
Oh, look, indeed. The owner of Adani is one of the richest men in the world. He's lucky enough to have met a Queensland government keen to give him some of our money. If they want to build the mine, then, yeah, they'll be rolling the dice on whether the world wants to buy the coal. But let's be clear, if Australia exports more coal out of the Galilee, it's going to harm coal exports in southern Queensland. It's going to harm coal exports out of Newcastle. When Australia increases its supply of coal, it doesn't make India build new power stations, it doesn't make China build new power stations, and Australia is already the world's largest coal exporter. So even if we do create some jobs up and around the Adani project, even if we do, and that's a big if, there's no doubt we'll be displacing coal jobs in the Hunter Valley in southeast Queensland. And bizarrely, the Adani mine, according to its own management, will be automated from pit to port. So we'll be building an automated mine that won't employ many people, and will be displacing coal mines that rely on far more labour than the Adani mine plans to.
Representatives from your organisation, the Australia Institute, have met with Chinese officials several times in the past few months to discourage them from investing in coal mining in Australia. Your organisation's been criticised by people such as Matt Canavan for acting against the national interest. Does the election outcome undermine that message to the Chinese that you've been prosecuting, that we are now suddenly looking at a coalition government being re-elected, environmental approvals being expedited, other approvals processes being moved forward relatively quickly, and taxpayer-funded support being available and welcome?
Oh, look, the Australia Institute's a wonderful organisation. The idea that we tell the Chinese government what to do might be a bit of Matt Canavan's exaggeration, but given that he exaggerates the job claims from Adani, I suppose we can't blame him for that. Look, we've met with officials from all sorts of governments to explain what we see as the economics of these new mega projects. If all of the coal mines in the Galilee were to be built in the way that Senator Matt Canavan wants them to, we're talking about increasing coal production by 200 million tonnes per year. Now, to be clear, Australia's the largest exporter of coal at the moment, and we only export a bit over 200 million tonnes of coal a year. So, yeah, it is interesting and important to talk to other governments around the world to say, did you realise that the world's largest coal exporter is actually planning to double its coal exports? Now, if OPEC were planning to double its oil exports, that would be interesting. Well, other governments are interested in Australia's plans, at least Senator Canavan's plans, to double Australia's coal exports.
If Labor lost this election, as some are framing it, on a failure to respect the North Queensland community's desire for self-determination, how do you keep prosecuting this case about the economics around mining projects such as this without being dismissed as someone who hasn't walked a day in the shoes of someone who's unemployed, or whose family's unemployed, or whose town is deteriorating, or who's just a southerner telling someone else what to do?
Look, I grew up in the Hunter Valley. I grew up in a coal mining community. In fact, my first job application was to work in a coal mine in the Hunter Valley. And during my time finishing school and starting uni, the coal industry in the Hunter Valley sacked half of its workforce. Literally sacked half of its workforce from 45,000 to just over 20,000 in a 10-year period. The reason the coal industry sacked half of its workforce in the community that I lived in was because of automation. they found a way to extract coal with a lot less workers. So they sacked half of their workers. So, it's not true that I haven't grown up in communities that have experienced unemployment. I've personally experienced unemployment. But the idea that the coal industry is there to help its workers, when in fact as soon as technology comes along it sacks workers as quick as it can. And if Senator Canavan or the opposition leader in Queensland was at all serious about creating jobs in regional Queensland, they would insist that Adani have no robot trucks, they would insist that Adani use no robot trains, and they would ensure that local people got those truck driving and train driving jobs. So if, and it's a big if, for all of the billions in subsidies, we really wanted to create jobs around the Adani mine, we would not allow them to use automated trucks and automated trains. But the same politicians that lecture me about, keeping out of their business are politicians that want to spend my taxes to subsidise a project that won't create many jobs, but it will employ a lot of robots.